All right, and welcome back. I am Dorian Albritton, and I am the host of Think Like a Leader, where we explore the mindsets and strategies of top leaders around the world. Today, I'm excited to bring you Robert J. Hunt, aka the Accountability Dude. Robert's a business owner and an executive coach in Dallas Fort Worth, leading CEO peer groups for over a decade, helping leaders shatter obstacles to become their best. His book, Nobody Cares Until You Do, has become a personal nighttime favorite for my wife and I. Before we call it quits at night, it's honestly a game changing book, really showing how owning your choices unlocks freedom and power in your life. As a husband, dad, and faith driven leader, Robert lives what he preaches. Today, we get to dive into his story. Robert, nice to see you again, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me on your show.
No, thank you for joining me, man. I know it's a long time coming. I know we spoke maybe about almost close to about a month ago, funny enough.
Yeah,
And I got to get your book, read through your book, love your book. Man,
nice.
it was very eye opening. It was almost, I don't know if it was meant to be marriage therapy with me and my wife, but it's funny. As we're reading the book together, we're like, oh my gosh, like this, that's what we're doing. This is where we're, not holding each other accountable. This is where, and we'll get into the book. But man, when I tell you, it's been so fun to read it with my wife because
Nice.
that's something that me and her both have been working on, but to hear it in a way that you put it, it was just it was fantastic. So I just want first
Thank
I'll
you. That
say thank
blesses
you.
me. Thank you. Yeah, I tell you, when you write a book, it's kind of like giving birth. I got given birth. I watched my wife give birth, but I think like you're like "Ugh, done, and then it takes on its own life. And so as I've been coming up on 3 years now that we've been having this book out in the market, and I feel like I'm learning more about how to articulate the value of it, how to pass it on to people. But always in the back of your head, feel like am I changing life? Is this reaching people? We're never going to get our money back out of this book. I got to sell 50,000 copies to break even. And so, it's not going to happen. But at the end of the day, if I'm changing one person's life, I feel like that honors the Lord because he gave me the opportunity to write this book and he gave me the money to be able to pay for it. So I just feel like I'm being a good steward if it's changing people's lives. So that really blesses me. Thank you for your kind words.
No, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for writing the book, man. I think thanks for putting that out there. But I want to start this off with a question that obviously is on the premise of what the podcast is, right? So I want to ask you, what does thinking like a leader mean to you?
It means you own it. It means thinking like it's your deal, that the ownership is yours. I think there's all different kinds of definitions, but from the things that I've watched leaders do well or not do well, I've seen in my own life where I do well or don't do well. It's where I own it, and I think that is the simplest definition of accountability: is you own it. And so, if you're going to be a leader, whether it's at home or church, in your neighborhood, at work, wherever you get the chance to lead, you got to own it because real leaders, they make decisions and they own the consequences of the decisions, and they own the opportunities and they own the outcome and they own the things they miss and the things they don't do well. They own it all. It's all you. That to me is leadership thinking.
All of that. Can you name or a moment or share a moment when you consciously made that shift of owning your life, owning and embodying this philosophy that you have around leadership?
Yeah, I'll be candid. I have not been a person of accountability most of my life. I was a lazy, just get by kind of person, and all that did was make me miserable and frustrated by the kinds of situations I ended up in. And it took me by failing enough times to figure out I don't like this model of life. I don't like constantly in knee jerk reaction trying to clean up my problems. It really came to a culmination in 2019 when my beautiful wife Kathy and we owed $90,000 in debt, and it was choking us. And that didn't include the house or the cars. And so we said at the beginning of 2019, look, this isn't a life we want to live. And if we were to list out, which we did on a whiteboard, all the things that we really cared about and we wanted more than anything else, at the top of the list, truly honestly, was to represent Christ. Because we feel like we've been given eternal life and forgiveness of sins. And I got a beautiful wife who loves me. I have everything I could ever imagine. And all I'm doing is wasting it. and then complaining that I don't have enough. And so we got to that push in 2019. We're just looking like we're acting like spoiled brats, and we need to own this journey and all the excuses and all the blame and all the things that we say we can't change. We need to own that, and we did, and that was the start of us truly understanding accountability. We ended up selling our house. Took us till March of 2020 to sell the house, and then to pay off all that debt and start over. But the freedom that we found by making that drastic change was a catalyst for owning everything in our lives. We looked at the fact that our marriage had really suffered under that debt. We had problems between us. My faith had struggled because of that debt. My attitude towards life and towards business, everything was struggling because of that debt. When I removed that, I felt the confidence to go look and say, well, what else in my life am I not living the way I really want to live? And then bit by bit, we started attacking everything in our lives that we didn't like. You know, it still is a journey. There's still lots of things I'll be working on until I'm dead, but I own it. I own my decisions. I own my marriage. I own my relationship with my children. I own my finances and I own my faith. It's all me. It's all mine. Therefore, I have the power to do something about it. When you take accountability for everything in your life, you find out you have the power to change anything in your life. And we saw that when we finally woke up and said, nobody cares until we care enough to do something about it. And that's what we did.
I love that, man. How my quick question on that, and just to piggyback for, and I guess for our guests that are happen to be married, or have, someone that they're with, a man or a woman. What, how do you get the, you've decided to own it as an individual, and you know that marriage is a partnership. How are you relaying what you feel to your partner in that moment? Or is there conversations that happen, or
Yeah.
how exactly do you guys align on both becoming accountable to make the necessary change? Because I
Yeah. We
find it to
talked
be
about it a
different.
lot.
You did?
Yeah. We talked about it a lot. Really, every year we'd get together and we'd say, what do we want this year to look like? And we'd spend a couple days planning the year and really dreaming and thinking about what we want. In 2019, it was that same moment of what do we want our lives to look like? The thing is, we're aligned in what we want for our lives. We want to honor Christ with our lives and the lives he's given us. We want to love each other and have fun. We want to enjoy our lives. And so we're aligned with the thing we want. The thing that we had to do is, well, so what's the solution? And so we looked at everything. We checked out Dave Ramsey's philosophies about getting out of debt. And it would have taken us about 5 years to maybe at a pace to get out of debt. But we also had a time in September where I got vertigo for 16 days. And I was thinking, well, what if I have vertigo the rest of my life? Can I really go on a 5 year plan to somehow get out of debt if I can't work anymore? And so there was just a lot of things that kept piling up and piling up. And I have learned with my beautiful wife, Kathy, that she will follow me anywhere as long as I am communicating well. And I've earned her trust because I've always honored her and respected her and been responsible to communicate well. But she trusts me because I love Jesus and because she knows I love her. So I didn't have to convince her to join me in the idea of selling the house. She wasn't any happy. She wasn't happy about it. I wasn't happy about it. And neither one of us liked the idea of selling our house, but we knew that was the solution that we could do and fix all of our problems. So because she believes in me and because I believe in Jesus, we both decided this is where we want to go together. And so there was no convincing. She was on board.
I love that too. Because I know when I've spoken to just friends that are married, and they've they're on this journey where they're trying to do something specifically, but they feel their spouse is not on the same personal growth position or journey as them. So I wanted to, if they do listen to this or something, just to kind of get an idea of how that process could potentially go. But it does take communication, as you said, and trust, right? I think
Yeah.
trust has a really big thing to do with it. How did
And if you have a situation where your marriage is not at a place where your wife or husband or is completely in alignment with you, you need to have difficult conversations and own that. Again, that accountability is you own it. So if your marriage has holes or weaknesses in it, don't wait till it gets better. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And the delay, the kicking it down the road, thinking, well, maybe next week, next month, next year, it'll be a better situation. It doesn't. Life just continues to get more and more complicated. And if you build a relationship that has holes in it and it has a weak foundation, you're building it up to fail. And so if you have a problem, own it now. Go to counseling, get therapy, do whatever you got to do to get to a place where you align and the two of you are together as one, because it's your responsibility, it's your opportunity. But don't wait for it to get better on its own. It's not.
Yeah. I tell Go through accountability for us, Robert. Talk to us about what accountability is and why it is not just important in your life, like in leadership, but in your life in general. Because we're touching on the
Yeah.
topic now, but I want you to speak on it.
So the simplest definition of accountability is you own it. I was talking about that before. And when you look at your life and you think of all the things you've got to do, if you own it all, that seems like a lot of responsibility. It's a burden to have to, I got a lot to handle. However, when you own it all, you can change it all. And what happens is that in our lives, we become very comfortable with being a victim. Nobody says to himself, gee, I want to be a victim. But the way we behave is we act like victims. So when something comes up that you're accountable for, one of the first things you do is you blame. You blame issues, you blame traffic, you blame your parents, you blame God. And you're just now you're mad at somebody, but it didn't make the problem any better. And if that doesn't work, you make an excuse. Well, I didn't have a dad who loved me. I grew up poor. Oh, I have a jerk boss. All these things that we like to feel comfortable by blaming or making excuses on, they don't get us anywhere. You're not owning it. And if those two things don't work, then we say, well, I can't. I can't do anything about it. I have a horrible job. I hate my boss, but I can't go anywhere else. I can't find another job. How do you know? I'll tell you, you'll find another job when you get fired because they don't like your attitude and they're tired of having you around and they fire you, where you could have left and go find a job on your own at your time, at your pace. But instead, you're like, I'll just stay. I'll just suck it up. And but then your attitude sours and you're miserable and you don't work hard and you don't have good results. And then they fire you. Well, then all of a sudden you can find another job. So I mean, it's just one of those things that by saying you can't, you actually need to change the word "I can't" to "I won't." And when you say "I won't," then someone could go, well, "Why won't you?" If you say "I can't," they're like, "Well, that's done. There's nothing you can do about it." But if you say "I won't," then the question is, "How come?" And so we don't say "I won't," we say "I can't," and then that's, "Oh, well, I get it. You just can't." And then the fourth thing we do is we say, well, let's wait and hope it'll get better. Maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll get a big bonus and pay all that debt off. Maybe next year something will happen where all of a sudden I'll have more money than I had this year. People are in debt like crazy and they just keep thinking, well, I'll get a bonus this year. We'll pay it off. Or I'll get a raise this year. And then if they don't get a raise, they're mad at their boss because they didn't get a raise. It's not your boss's job to pay your debt. The fact that you chose to spend more money than you earn is totally yours. You need to own that. And if you don't have a job that pays a lot of money, lower your standard of living. We're still living in the house that we rented when we moved out to sell our home 5 years ago. We're still living here. We could go get a house somewhere, but we lost all of our retirement because we spent all that money in the life that we had created the years before, drained our retirement, drained our investments down to zero, and then started building debt. So to rebuild so that I don't have to ask my kids for food money someday, I've got to start rebuilding my retirement fund, which I'll never retire, but to have enough money where I don't need somebody's help. You're accountable for the life you live. And if you blow it all on a lifestyle that lets you party and have fun, but there's no money for your future, that's on you. And then the government's got to take care of us. What if the government's broke like they are and they can't give you money? What if your family members are broken? They can't help you out. So we've got to stop kicking the can down the road, thinking next year, next this. We've got to own it. But there's power and freedom and hope when you own it. It's exciting.
So, how do you coach someone in these struggling with the accountability, right? Struggling with the blaming, struggling with the oh well, I can't. What are ways that you've seen that work in those moments? Because I can think of like three or four people already in my life that I know are stuck at blame
Yeah.
or stuck at it's not my fault. I can't do that. So how do you help those people?
The first way you can do it is model it in your own life. That's the best way to do it because people don't want you to tell them what to do. Nobody loves someone else to point out the fact they're not doing something. That never really wins people over. I work with business owners and CEOs who run busy businesses, lots of employees. They don't need me to tell them if they're not doing something. They're never going to be like, "Hey, criticize me." It's not going to help, you know. But if I could just model it by my own life, that's a starting point. But at some point, they are asking me, "Hey, what should I do here? What's going on with this situation?" Nobody can hold anyone else accountable. I can't hold you accountable. We say that phrase a lot, but it doesn't work. If I say I'm going to hold my employees accountable, what do I do? Fire them every time they make a mistake? Hey, you didn't get that report done? You're fired. I mean, you'll have no employees. And so if I can't fire someone every time they do something wrong, what do? I yell at them. I threaten them. Get it together. You're not going to be working here. All these things, but they're still not accountable. You can hold yourself accountable if you want to be, but you have to want it. So the way that I would coach someone who's kind of struggling with this is, are you miserable enough where you are that you're willing to change to get where you want to be? And that's why we have them take the satisfaction assessment, because the Bible says in John 10 that he wants us to have a rich and satisfying life. That's pretty awesome. Jesus says, I came to give you an abundant life, one that is rich and satisfying. If you don't have a life that is rich and satisfying today, that's on you. Because if you have given your heart to Christ, he's given you the power of God. The Spirit of God lives inside of you. And he's created all these great things for you to do. If you're obedient to him and walk with him, he's got a plan for your life. But if you're not owning it and you're avoiding things and not being accountable and you're not obeying God, that's on you. That's your journey. And I can't make anyone do what they're supposed to do, but I can show them that, listen, if you're not happy where you are you willing to change to go be somewhere else? And it's like for us, when the pain of where you are is worse than the pain of where you're going to go, you'll change.
That's so good. That's that's so good. I know if I think about my own life, accountability is something that I know we all work on every day, right? Being
Yeah,
accountable. And I
I do.
think it's a it's a tough game because it really is you versus you. It actually does have anything to do with anyone else. Like that's something an insight that I've come to as I think about it, especially while reading your book, that it actually has nothing to do with anyone else but you.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the hard part that most people don't want to face. It's something that I know I had to question. It's like, why am I struggling with facing me? Why am I holding on to a version of me that I no longer believe serves me? What am I like? And having these questions, how have you answered that in your own life? Like, did you find having that struggle when you did find yourself 90K in debt with your wife? You guys had to look at each other just straight up, hey, this is what we have to do. Was there like a fear or struggle? Like, how did you get through that point?
Man, so yes, we had fear and struggles and worries. One of the ways that you can truly be accountable is to be vulnerable. If you're not vulnerable, you'll never really be accountable. Vulnerable is being willing to be honest and transparent about the challenges you face and invite someone into the journey with you. Now, Kathy and I were certainly being vulnerable and transparent with each other, but we were the ones who got ourselves in that position. There's no way that we're going to solve it by and get ourselves out by ourselves. So we had to invite somebody into our journey, and we had to be able to say, well, we actually paid a dude $250 a month to come to our house and look at our checkbook and look at our credit card statements and look at our money and go, wow, is that how you guys spend your money? It was
Yeah, that's humbling.
humiliating. It was awful. But we got ourselves in that habit by living stupid. We're not the two to get ourselves out of that. We've got to invite somebody in to go, yeah, we're kind of struggling to even write a budget down. And he helped us write a budget and then to review it. He wasn't holding me accountable. I could say, dude, get out of here. I'm not paying you. Don't show up. So that would never have done it. Or I could lie to him. Oh, yeah, well, I had to have a surgery. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of nonsense you can do. Nobody can ever hold you accountable. But we invited him in because we wanted to get better. And if you want to be your best, you've got to invite people in who will help you to pursue being the best version of yourself.
Be the best version of yourself. I actually was listening to Brian Tracy the other day, and he said to, if you have these thoughts, these not serving thoughts, you could say like certain quotes and things to yourself. And I say to myself now, I'm obsessed with becoming the best version of myself. And I say it to myself over and over and over again to realize like anytime I'm about to do something that's not in the light of the best version of myself, well, I have to remember, well, no, I'm obsessed with being the best version of myself. And that's my version of holding myself accountable in a way because
Well,
I'm no longer doing the stupid things that I would normally do in certain situations. So, um,
and there's a little bit of a line when you're walking life with a spouse where you want to invite them into the journey because we're going together. So I'll say, Kathy, I really want to snack less. So if I sit on the couch and I start eating a big bag of Doritos, she can go, "Hey, you were gonna eat less. You're gonna eat, skip snacks." And now don't tell me what to eat. Now I'll be mad at her, right? Because she called me out. However, she can help me by not buying Doritos. If there's no Doritos at home, I can't eat Doritos on the couch because there's no Doritos. So part of what she can do to support me in my own desire to be accountable to a lifestyle of health is to not buy the food that she knows I would gorge. Buy some fruits and vegetables that are fresh, make extra steaks. I'll just sit and gnaw on a steak. At least I'm having protein. Give me an option that she can support my effort. But at the end of the day, it's my decision, it's my choice, and I got to own that. So that we do it together, but it's still my action.
how do leaders fully embrace this mindset of accountability? You know, not just necessarily at home, but like at work. How are they embracing these moments, fully embracing, owning
I
their
don't think they
decisions?
are. I think most leaders are not truly accountable. I think that at best they're being responsible, and
Yeah.
that's different than
What's
accountable.
the difference?
So responsible is you respond to something that comes your way and you fix it, you deal with it. Accountable is to take account for what's in your world and plan ahead. So there's a proactive nature in accountability. So I know I've got employees who at some point will get bored with their job. I know at some point someone's going to say, "I'll pay you more if you come work for me here." I know at some point someone else in the office is going to make someone else mad. I know at some point customers will be rude to my employees. I know all these things. It's real. And I also know they're going to have personal problems, health issues, financial issues, kid issues, marriage issues, faith issues. These are all real things that employees have. And as long as you have humans in your world, something like this is going to happen. If you don't proactively create a company that allows them to get support and encouragement in their journey, you'll get what you get from them. And then you'll get unhappy employees who have marital problems. And because of that marital problem, they come to work and they're angry and sullen and they treat everyone poorly at the office. And they don't try because they're just exhausted emotionally. And they show up and they do the very least they have to do and get out and go home to their miserable life. That's not your job to fix their marriage. But if you want good, hardworking employees, you've got to be concerned about their marriage. So what can you do without going, "Hey, how's your marriage? You guys having a good relationship? Things good at home?" You can have marriage classes. You can give everyone a copy of a book on marriage. You can model a good marriage in the way you live it. You can pray for your employees by name through the issues that you know they're having because they
Yeah.
talk. There's a lot you can do as a leader proactively to own the world that God has entrusted you with instead of just respond to the problems as they pop up.
That's so cool because it's the indirect work that you're doing that still is directly affecting that person to hold them in a and not saying hold them accountable, but help them hold themselves accountable. You're almost setting up the environment for them to succeed in
Yeah.
essence as the leader. I think that's super cool because I
I
don't.
take the other example of the proactive nature of accountability versus the reactive nature of responsibility. We all know at some point you won't be able to work anymore. And the IRS says that over 60% of Americans will need someone else to provide for them until they die. 60%, more than 60%. How many years do you have to plan for a possible retirement? 50 years? 40 years? Only 30? You have 30 or 40 years to plan for your retirement and nobody's ready. That is not being accountable. Now, you'll be responsible to get your food stamps from the government. You'll be responsible to apply for aid. You'll be responsible to ask your church to bring groceries to your house or to hit up your kids for some money when you're not able to pay your bills so you can keep current. That's not the same as being accountable and saying, "I'm not going to have cable. I'm going to have one car. I'm not deserving a timeshare." All the things that we think we deserve, you don't. You don't deserve anything, really. You've been blessed to live in America. If you're watching this podcast right now, you're richer than 90% of the world, and you have the freedom to watch whatever you want and think whatever you want. You live in America, you're blessed. You don't deserve anything. So let's take it down a notch. Let's be a little more content. Let's be a little more intentional about chasing the life that we really want inside the parameters of where God's placed you. I'm sorry, my phone's been lighting up. Can I pause for a second? You
Yeah,
can edit this.
yeah, please.
I have it on me. Wait, I'm sorry, man. Um, I have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, I think we should move into a different gear of just about describing account. I mean, we've talked about accountability, we've talked about responsibility. What are you seeing in today's leaders? What's the landscape of today? And what would you, as someone that's been in the field for as long as you have, be wanting to implement to these leaders to help them grow, to help them be better or the best
Yeah.
versions of themselves?
The reason we wrote this book is because we really do want to help people be the best version of themselves. I think people don't understand the principles of accountability. Our hope is that they would be willing to learn the guidelines and the traps that hold us back as victims, be open to the idea that maybe you're acting like a victim, but you're not aware of it. And just by blame and excuse, we can think of 100 examples where we do that already. But if you're going to be a leader in your home, in your business, in your church, in your community, all you got to do is own it. And if you could just learn the principles of accountability, you'll have a better business. I deal with people all the time, and they'll come to me and they'll tell me about their stupid employees and their horrible clients, and I go, why do you have either one of those? If you have a horrible employee, why are you keeping them? And they give me all these excuses and they blame and all this stuff, and they are playing the victim role. If you are responsible for something, do it well. And if you want to be truly accountable, you've got to do it in a proactive manner. So I think businesses just need to wake up and realize you're not being accountable. You're not being accountable to best practices, even as far as how you grow your business. When you had 4 employees, that was one world. When you're at 400 employees, you cannot be doing the same
Yeah.
goofy stuff you did at 4. Even at 40, you can't do the same goofy stuff. So if you're not proactively thinking about what's going to change in my world when I go from 4 to 40 to 400, if you're not proactively thinking about that, you're going to end up where you're over your skis. You have no idea what you're doing. You're not qualified to be in charge and you're stuck with all these employees and you're not ready. That's on you. You had that whole time of ramping up to get ready, but you partied like it. It'll be fine. We'll work it out. You're not building a culture where people take each other seriously. You didn't plan ahead financially, and then you got run on low on cash. You didn't build the kind of culture where people want to stay and be committed to your company. You keep a brilliant jerk in working in your office. They're so smart and skillful that you can't afford to get rid of them, but they're horrible and they're crushing your culture. That's on you. And we need to wake up and realize that we own this and we need to do it. We need to take responsibility for our actions and take accountability for the outcome.
You said something there, and I want to touch on this real quick because my little brother used to say this to my mom. He used to get popped for it, but he used to say this to it, and he would say, "I'm not giving you an excuse. It's just the reason."
I know.
And
That's
it
true.
was so clever. My little brother is smart as I mean, he was doing this at like 12, 13 years old, so he was bold. But he would always say, "I'm not giving an excuse. I'm just telling you the reason why it happened." So how
Yeah.
do you differentiate that in the
Yeah.
setting that you work in?
I love that phrase. I've used it for years, but I started to figure out nobody cares about your reason either. Yeah. Look, if you're supposed to be here at time on time and your car blew up and burst into flames, you had a valid reason for being late. So then we just move on without you and we go on and it's okay. There's a reason. But that it's somehow you are then to be pitied and to
Mm,
not be expected to deliver the result. I grew up in a very poor family where my father beat my mom and beat us kids in front of me many times for years. I could grow up to be a horrible dad. I could grow up to be a horrible husband and beat my family, but I'm not doing that. Now, the reality is, I could have a reason why I could do that, but it still doesn't take away the fact you're not supposed to beat your family. And so at some point, we've got to move from a way that somehow justifies things aren't getting done. I don't care your reason or your excuse. It's still not done. You got to get it done. You got to own it. It's your thing to own, whether it's called a reason or called excuse. It's still yours to own.
I can't my mom's gonna be pretty excited to hear you say that because she used to say the same thing when he would come to us with that. But it's so true, right? I mean, it doesn't matter the reason. It's still you
Still
still gotta
yours.
it's still yours. Like you still gotta do it. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, oh man. So I want to talk on something that you said in the book where you outline acknowledge reality and embrace the suck. Those are the two phrases that you use in the book. So I want you to explain how these steps actually help leaders move from feeling that powerlessness to taking control over what seems to be an impossible task for them.
Yeah. We outline in the book that there's the first part is the traps that hold you back. Then you come to the reality that nobody cares. So, okay, it's mine to own. What am I going to do? You acknowledge reality. Reality was I owed $90,000 in debt. The other reality is I had a house with equity. And so I could sell that house. That is a reality. The reality is nobody's going to come and give me money to get out of debt. The reality is if I work my butt off, I could not earn enough money every year to somehow get $90,000 out of debt. It just wasn't going to happen. This is clear the case. And so then once you acknowledge reality, it's going to suck. The solution to get where you want to go usually sucks because if it was easy, you would have fixed it a long
Yeah,
time ago.
true,
Right?
true.
No, just turn the knob. That's it. And so it's probably going to suck. And that's okay because I think I'd rather have a miserable life fixing and going where I want to be than a miserable life staying as a victim. And so either way, it's going to be miserable for a while, but at the end, I'm going to be where I want to be. When you stay as a victim, it stays miserable all the time. So embracing the suck is just to get geared up and go, this is how it's going to be. Let's get going. Selling my house sucked. It was a bummer. I did not like having to do that. Telling my family members I owe $90,000 in debt and I'm starting over to get reset. Telling my neighbors when I'm selling my furniture for pennies on the dollar to wheel down my beautiful oak table to their house. They could buy it for chump change, but I couldn't take it here. It was bigger than my house. And so I just had to make these tough decisions. And you have to acknowledge that it might suck, but it's taking where you want to go. And that's the motivation.
You think faith has a lot to do with that on the back end? You know, with the embracing of the suck, with the because it sounds like you knowing what you have to do, understanding your reality, but you also have an objective or a goal that you're trying to get to, which is out of the $90,000 in debt, right? You don't know if what you're doing is going to work. Like you're still you have a reality behind it. Yeah, you could sell the house, get out of the debt, but like you don't know if like that's going to solve everything.
That's
So
true.
how did faith have anything to do with you going through the back end of this process of accountability?
Faith was a catalyst that made us step back and look at our lives and say, are we living the life we really want? Because we feel like God had been so kind to us, and here we are. All we do is bitch and moan about how we don't have this and that. And I know that wasn't pleasing to my Savior. And so I think my faith was the foundation that got me to think about what do I want my life to really look like? I did not know how things would go after I got out of debt. Frankly, we had been so bad with our money. The fear was always, will we go right back into debt again? And that's why we invited people into our lives to create a time of vulnerability. And where I had that guy I was paying all that money to on a regular basis, look at our expenses and review our budget with us until we got enough clarity in our head to be able to stay strong about that. So I think faith was the desire to please the Lord with our lives. I wasn't sure my plan was going to work, but it was the very best plan I had. And so, based on the information I had and the opportunity ahead of me, we made that step. I'll tell you what I didn't anticipate was the radical peace that I had when I finally got out of debt. I had been living in stress and worry and fear and anxiety for so many years. I forgot what it felt like to have real peace. And remember in April, we paid off everybody, and our house had folding chairs and no couch. The TV was on a folding table, and there was no furniture, and our beds and dressers. And I remember sitting on the folding chair in the morning and spending the time with the Lord. And I had such peace that I had not experienced for years. It just was day and night difference. I don't have any debt. I mean, COVID hit. The whole world shut down. You know what I do for a living? I have meetings with business owners. Nobody was meeting with anybody. That was the end of the world. Nobody's going to pay me any money. I'm going to have no business going forward. And I was like, okay, I'm cool. I don't owe any money. And I took my standard of living down to here. I'm in this rental house. I'm golden, man. And so I had this ridiculous peace, but I also found that obedience to God brings blessings. And because of that obedience, he looked at me and go, "Good, you're finally over yourself. Let me start giving you the blessings I want to give you." My business
Mm.
doubled in the year of COVID in 20. It doubled again in 21 because God was throwing blessings at me because of my obedience. He helped me get a confidence back that I could do my business well, that being obedient to him would be more profitable to me than holding on to my money really tight. And I see that now as I look back. So it was a catalyst for the confidence of being accountable for everything in our lives.
And I think it just goes to show how important, you're to me. Now, this is not a faith podcast or anything like that, right? But I do
More
believe,
faith damage.
yeah, well, I know belief is so strong. What you believe does truly come true. And I like to share that on episodes that I can, where the message is clear that when you have and if you give yourself, and like you said, obedience to our Lord and Savior, it really does allow you to move with a bit of, like you said, freedom. Like there's nothing on your shoulders. Like, oh, like it
Yeah,
actually is a breath of fresh air. And even when you don't have the financial piece to it, when you have that, like, I know he's on my side. I know it. Like I genuinely feel it. You can move with a sense of air about you. And I want everyone that's listening to know, like, the same thing comes when you become financially free. And financially free doesn't mean you have boats and yachts and all these things.
that's right.
It it simply means that you can live the way that you want to live with the means that you have.
It probably means for most of the world, you go down in what you spend, not that you get more money. And that's what we talk about. Whenever we talk about financial freedom, everyone always assumes I'll make more money. I'll have so much money put away. You will never have enough money to guarantee you'll have no struggles in life. And I think that's one of the things that becomes an idol to us. We're putting so much confidence in our 401k and our retirement plans, and we don't need God because I got enough money to cover me. Well, the reality is, let's say you got $10 million saved up by the time you retire. And then all of a sudden you get old and you have a surgery and a medical condition that takes all $10 million just to keep you from dying. Then you got nothing.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee, or the stock market crashes and now it's worth $1 million. There's no way to guarantee that whatever you do is going to absolutely make you have no problems in life. That's not what life's about. Life is about obedience to God, the God who created this earth that we're on. He is the King of all kings. He deserves our obedience. And you can argue and disagree with it all you want. That's up to you. But at some point, you will be standing before God and he will still be God. And whether you believe in him or not, he's still God. And so you have the choice to make with what you do with your life. Financial freedom is you adjusting your lifestyle down to where God doesn't have to do magic for you to cover your bills every month. You have to adjust your life so that you can be content with what he's been kind enough to give you and have fun with your life.
And that's form of being accountable, right? Like you have to be accountable and understand and be aware of what you got going on to understand that you need to be there, that you need to downgrade, that you need to take these things away. But I digress. That I think that what the message I'm trying to get across is belief is a catalyst to a lot of different things. So the first step is you have to believe that you can at the end of the day. I want to jump in real quick before I let you go. My satisfaction assessment. I
Yeah.
sent it to you. I was shocked at how my satisfaction looked. I was being very honest, very frank with it. You know, you have the personal side and you have the business side. My business, the way my business side looked was it's pretty bare. Personal development was all right. Walk us through how this assessment helps someone
Yeah,
identify that they're playing the victim in their life,
sure.
and
Well,
what can you tell me about my results if you have them in front of you? I know I sent them to you, but what could you tell
yeah.
me about those?
The reality is that um, we put the satisfaction assessment in the book so that people could start by taking a reality check of where are you and how do you view your life. And you can go to our website and do it for free. Even if you don't want to buy the book, go to nobodycaresbook.com. You can take the satisfaction assessment online and then you can have it for yourself. And so the reality is you be really, really honest with yourself. How do you view your marriage? How do you feel about your health? How do you feel about your career? All those things. And then when you look at that, you look at it and go, well, I'm not happy with this, this, and this. Well, then the question is why? And when you ask the question and you answer it honestly, you will find that you will blame or make excuse or say you can't, or you'll wait and hope. And that's the trap you're living in as a victim. So if you've got your marriage that you're not happy with, then why? And what are you willing to do about it? And then you say, well, I can't do anything about it. Well, you can. So it's just designed to help people do a wake up call. And the realities of whether or not they're satisfied really will show where you are playing a victim in life. In specific to yours, are you able to throw it up on the screen and share it with people?
Yeah, let's see here. I think I have it right here. Share. Let's make sure it's the right screen here. All right. All right. Let me know when you can
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
All right. So,
So a couple of things to point out is that we're probably going to find more satisfaction in one area of our life or another. So in your case, you have more satisfaction because as the circle gets bigger, that shows how much satisfaction you have. Towards the center is no satisfaction. Towards the outside of the edges is the more satisfaction. So you have more satisfaction in your personal life than you do in your career right now. And that's okay. Some other people would have the inverse. Then another thing to recognize is that that's not a very round wheel. If
no.
you're trying to go down the road with a wheel like that, it would be a very bumpy ride. You're never going to have a perfectly round satisfaction where you're always perfectly evenly satisfied in all things. They will come and go. But what we want to do is say, well, look, if I'm this happy with my personal growth, maybe I'll take that down a little bit less and spend more time on developing my finances because I might be growing in knowledge and understanding all these great things. But if I don't have enough money to pay the bills, I'm going to have stress in my life. So I'll spend less time focused on personal growth and more time focused on either making money or having fun or spending more time with the family. So it's not to say abandon something else, but if you're pretty solid in your walk with the Lord and your development as a leader, then let's focus on the other things so you could find more satisfaction in that. And when you get to the thing about, well, what will it take to be more satisfied? And then you find yourself blaming or making excuses or saying you can't do anything about it or waiting, hoping that is just the reality check of you to go, wait, I'm playing a victim and nobody cares if I have a crappy life or not. What am I going to do to pursue the life I really want? And that's where you begin the journey of owning it and making decisions that will change your life.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'm looking at my wheel, man. I'm not gonna lie, I was taken aback um, by the way it looked. But I like your suggestion, right? Because you didn't just say, "Oh, we'll just get good at all of it." You said, "Well, so take a step back on something, so maybe you can put more attention and time
Right.
into something else to improve it, just to round out your
Right.
satisfaction wheel instead of thinking I need to be perfect around
All of
the."
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, look at the business side. You got product and services really high. So sometimes there's a term we use in manufacturing called fit for use. It's good enough. So don't spend your time tweaking and working on to make it better and better and better. What you need to do is sell more. What you need to do is to get out and work on the actual development of a team. What you need to go is find the opportunities to partner with other people. You need to take that effort and leave the product and services. It's good enough. Let everything else grow to it so the wheel becomes round. So spend the time and effort developing other things. I have people who will start a new business and before they even have one customer, they'll spend thousands of dollars on a website and business cards and all these logoed hats and shirts, and nobody wants to hire them and you wasted all this time and money doing a bunch of stuff that isn't important. Go out, get business, prove the model, fine tune the business model, get good at it, and then worry about a website. And then go worry about hats and shirts. But you need to be able to build it up to a place where it sustains. And having a really superior product and no clients won't let you be in business for long.
Very true. It's very, very true. You're not getting far with just, one of those things. And, I think this is I love this because it's simple, right? It's not, rocket science here, but it allows you to then decide. Like you can now make decisions based on the honest results. Now, you got to be honest, right? You have to be real. You can't just do it for a result. I know I used to be that guy, and I know people that would just want to get the best grade on the test, right? And it's like this isn't one of those things. So for those that
No.
listen and that those that will take the assessment, there's no grade on this, guys. It's simply for you to see what your results look like, so you can now move behavior, shift kind of your
Focus.
actions, and shift your focus to better
Yeah.
those things. Is that okay?
And don't try and compare it to somebody else because if I got $10,000 in the bank, I might think, man, I'm screwed. You got $10,000 in the bank, you might go, this is awesome. So it really all depends on your perspective. So if I score something a 7 or 8 and you scored a 2 or 3, it's not the same game. Everyone's numbers mean something, but it's yours for you to compare, for you to get you focused, to deal with your life and own it.
Appreciate that, man. I appreciate you even looking at my results and just talking us through it. For those that saw my satisfaction results, they won't be like this next year. They're gonna be a lot better. We're gonna work
Amen.
on it. So that's the accountability. I got my audience keeping me accountable, but I
That's
have to
right.
keep myself accountable as well. So I'm excited to see what it looks like on July 23rd, 2026. We'll take a look.
Nice.
But as we wrap up, what's one piece of advice from Nobody Cares Until You Do that you want to leave with our listeners to help them think like a leader and take ownership of their life and work, especially when that self doubt creeps in?
Self doubt. I already mentioned when you say I can't change it, I won't, because I think that's a great tip to keep us, that self holds us back, self regulates. Um, I want to encourage you to change your but to an and. When you see something, you go, well, I want to start a new business, but I don't have enough money. Change the word but to and. I want to start a new business and I don't have enough money. So now that's the direction you should go. Go get some money. And then you say, well, I can't. Wait, wait, not I can't, I won't. Right. So we're going to say that too. So we've got to be aware of these things and we hold ourselves back. But the very simple way is to stop saying but and replace it with and. And that gives you your marching orders. Where do I go work next? I got to go work on this. I want to have a difficult conversation with my wife, but she's mad at me and she won't listen. Okay. I want to have a difficult conversation with my wife and she's mad at me and won't listen. What do I need to do? How do I need to work with that? There's your marching orders. Go do that.
Man, that's gold. That's gold. Phew. Yeah, I don't even know how to respond to that because I'm already thinking about a conversation I had with my wife this morning. Where I think we should just but. I was like, dang, I did say but. Oh man,
Yeah. If
that's
you build a
silly.
common language with the people that you're closest to where they understand this, then they can help you by saying, wait, are you making an excuse right here? Not to bust each other's chops, but to say, this is a habit you have. I have it too. I'm going to call it out when you do that so we together can get better. And then the two of you who love each other and care for each other can there be to inspire each other to be better and not hammer the person when they say it, but to say, can I challenge you right there? That sounds like you're using a but, and we really should put an and there. Learn the vernacular, learn the conversation of accountability. So you and your spouse and you and your family and your team and all your employees can have the same language, then we're creating a world where everybody's truly accountable.
Awesome, Robert. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Think Like a Leader. We're going to have all of your information in the show notes as far as where we can get to you. Are there any other social media or any insights that you want to give the audience before we go?
I'm basically a LinkedIn guy. That's where most of my stuff ends up. So if you're in the business world, look me up on LinkedIn, and I'd love to be able to help anybody I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And we will be speaking to you soon. Robert, thanks again. This is Think Like a Leader.